When it comes to being healthy, the bar has never been set so low. So as of 2024, 93.2% of all Americans are considered metabolically unhealthy, which means that if you want to be in the top 7% of the healthiest people in the country, the only thing you have to do is fix your metabolic health. Now, I've found one of the most effective ways to do that is dietary intervention. And for me and a lot of people out there, the carnivore diet is the fastest way to start you down that path, and in a lot of cases to actually get you in that top 7% of the healthiest people in the country. Now, I'm not saying that the carnivore diet is going to work that way for everybody. And I think the reason that is because there are a lot of other factors that come into play when it comes to metabolic health. And one of the biggest factors that's often overlooked is water, drinking water. Now, for most people, I think most of us rely on drinking tap water. And in this video, I'm going to go over why that is extremely bad, what's in the water that's causing metabolic dysfunction, and what the other options are. Because there are a lot of other options out there that can make tap water more healthy, and there's other options to where you don't have to rely on tap water. In October of 2024, the federal court has now ruled that fluoride in drinking water poses a significant enough of a risk to merit new EPA action. So what that means is that fluoride in water is actually very detrimental to your health. So they're finding that mothers that consume tap water during pregnancy and adolescents and young children that consume tap water have significantly lower IQ. Now, one very important note about fluoride is that it competes with iodine in the body. And even the World Health Organization has acknowledged the fact that iodine deficiency is one of the world's leading preventable causes of mental retardation. So let that sink in. And the fact of the matter is, I think it's safe to assume that if it's affecting children in that way, it's definitely going to be affecting pretty much everybody that consumes this water. And what the federal court is ruling is that the only way to mitigate the negative impacts from fluoride is to remove it from drinking water. Another big issue is chlorine. Chlorine is added to tap water and drinking water to sterilize it. It's part of the treatment process. And chlorine is linked to just an overall toxicity of the body, as well as asthma and increased prevalence of allergies, birth defects, and bladder and rectal cancer. And keep in mind that most of these things I'm going to talk about in this video are bioaccumulative, which means they build up in your body over time. So if you think about that, and the EPA has set a level that says this amount is safe, they don't factor in that you're consuming that amount every single time you drink water, and it's slowly building up in your body over time. And eventually, that's a house of cards that will eventually fall, and it's going to completely wreck your health. Another big issue with tap water is that it is now loaded with pharmaceuticals. So a lot of people dispose of pharmaceuticals incorrectly, and they flush it down the toilet. And not just that, but when you consume pharmaceuticals, a lot of that is not absorbed by the body, and a lot of it gets excreted out in your urine. And that gets flushed out into the water tables essentially, and back into the streams and the lakes and the rivers, and that water is recollected and then treated and converted back into tap water, into drinking water. So the problem with the treatment is that the treatment process does not filter this stuff out. It does not filter out pharmaceuticals, which includes things like hormones, antibiotics, blood thinners, heart medication, painkillers, opioids. All that stuff is going to be present and is actively present in drinking water, in tap water, if you're consuming that. And the FDA, the EPA, they don't regulate any of this. Now, the side effects that these things can have are obviously any side effect that that particular drug has, but think about things like endocrine disruption, antibiotic resistance, poor metabolic health, and mental and behavioral disorders. Now, another big one that's making headlines all across the country are PFAS, forever chemicals. These things are found everywhere in the environment now, and they are pretty much impossible to avoid, but they are also found in lakes, streams, water tables, and pretty much everywhere where water is collected. But the treatment process does not filter out PFAS. And they're finding now that pretty much all drinking water across the country is full of PFAS at very concerning levels. And there's actually a map online that I will link in the description, and you can go on there and it will show you what areas have the highest concentrations of PFAS in the drinking water, because it's become so much of a concern, they're actually tracking it to that level now. And again, PFAS come from the industrial complex. They come from manufacturing. A lot of these giant industries, they have toxic waste that essentially comes from their plants, and it goes into the water, and they do not degrade in the environment. That's why they're called forever chemicals. And the bad thing about that is when they get in your body, they pretty much do the same thing. The half-life of forever chemicals when they enter your body is about 5.5 years, which is terrible to think about considering that every time you consume something with forever chemicals in there, aka tap water, it's building up in your body over time and is causing a lot of the same issues I just talked about: metabolic dysfunction, endocrine disruption, hormone dysfunction, and all these very, very bad things that we are now plagued with in our modern lives. Another really bad one is heavy metals. And again, the water treatment process does not filter out heavy metals. Heavy metals are essentially neurotoxins. They have a very negative effect on the brain. They also cause things like metabolic dysfunction, endocrine disruption, overall toxicity of the body, lowered immune function, cancers, and again, a lot of very common chronic illnesses that we are plagued with in today's age. Now, some of the heavy metals that are highest in tap water are things like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and nickel. And again, heavy metals are also bioaccumulative, which means they build up in your body over time. Another group of very harmful chemicals that are making their way into our drinking water are antibiologics, pesticides, and herbicides, and a lot of the stuff that they spray on these fields, to include synthetic fertilizers, which happen to be loaded full of heavy metals and PFAS. These very, very harmful chemicals wash out of the fields into our rivers and streams and make their way directly into our drinking water. And these antibiologics are also linked to a lot of the same chronic conditions we just talked about: endocrine disruption, hormone dysfunction, metabolic dysfunction, cancers, diabetes, weight gain, all of these very, very horrible chronic conditions that modern society is plagued with. So with all that said, it is a great thing that the federal court is taking action against the EPA and is going to try to get fluoride essentially banned from our drinking water, which should have happened decades ago, because this has been going on for a couple generations now. But what can we do in the meantime? Because we know how slow these things take, and we know it's going to take them probably decades to get there. So what are the options that we have right now? Now, a lot of people will say bottled water, and I'm going to do another video about that because there are a lot of problems with bottled water, so that's going to require its own discussion. But I think the next best thing, and probably the best thing that you can do, is drink water straight from the earth, from aquifers and from springs that have been tested and verified to be safe. All right, I ain't gonna lie, this is absolutely horrifying, because I feel like the little girl from The Ring is gonna come out of here and suck my soul up. But I guess what I'll do here is gotta get this fresh water, right? So I'm gonna lower this pail in here, and I'm gonna try and get some water out of here. See, it's going long, long way down, ladies and gentlemen. Holy crap. It's a long way in there. Yo, if I come up missing, I want to at least make it into David Politis' missing 411, alright? That water's a long way down there. Alright, there's definitely a little girl coming out there. I'm out here. Now, my favorite website to locate those is findaspring.org. You can go on there and there is an interactive map, and you can find springs all over the country that you can source and bottle your own water. The only thing I would say is that to make sure that the testing has been done, do your own research and make sure that they are safe. And when you bottle your water, make sure you're bottling it in glass or stainless steel containers. Do not use plastic because, again, PFAS. And one of the great benefits to spring water and water from the earth, aside from it not being loaded with all that toxic stuff I just mentioned, is that it still has all the minerals intact. It is what you would consider alive water. Now, another great option would be Alive Water. And Alive Water is actually a partner of mine. And what they do is they source their water from tested and verified safe springs. They bottle it up in non-toxic containers and they deliver it straight to your door. Now, if you'd like to support local businesses and give Alive Water a try, use the link in the description and use code APEXWATER, all one word, at checkout to receive 15% off your first order. All right, I found this very large body of water, so I'm gonna make like our ancestors did. I'm just gonna scoop this up and I'm gonna consume this water straight from the earth because that's how our grandparents did it. Cheers, bub. If you're not keen on the idea of sourcing unfiltered water from the earth and you'd still like to filter that water, or you still want to rely on tap water but you just want to filter out all the bad stuff that's in there, the best type of filtration is going to be reverse osmosis. That is going to remove everything from the water. PFAS, heavy metals, fluoride, chlorine, all the stuff we just talked about is going to be 100% removed. That is the most effective, most efficient way to filter water. The only problem with that is that it also filters out all of the minerals, so all the beneficial things that are in water. But you can always add that back in by adding some pink Himalayan salt or sea salt to your water, or you can just add an electrolyte supplement to the water to add back in your magnesium, potassium, and sodium. One of the biggest drawbacks to reverse osmosis and what keeps a lot of people away is the price point. It is kind of expensive. And another one that is going to be near 100% effective is going to be granulated activated charcoal. That is another very, very effective filtration system that's going to filter out most of the bad stuff that's in tap water. If you're looking for a more portable and affordable option, the travel berkey is going to be at the top of the list. It is 100% stainless steel, and the Environmental Working Group has tested it and shown that its efficacy filters out 100% of all PFAS. And PFAS is one of the hardest things to filter out of drinking water. So if it filters out 100% of PFAS, it's also filtering out all the other things. And something that was very telling about the berkey filter in particular is that because in 2023, the EPA tried to ban it because it contains silver, and they consider silver a pesticide. Now, silver is actually a very, very powerful antimicrobial and is something that would be very beneficial to have in a water filter. And if you do some research on this, it starts to become very apparent that the reason they were probably trying to ban it is because it was actually very effective at preventing people from consuming these toxins. Now that seems like a very nefarious agenda, but again, take a little time to do some research on this topic, and I think you're going to find it pretty darn interesting. And I'll drop a couple articles on this topic in the description, so be sure to check those out. Two more filters that were shown to be 100% effective at filtering out PFAS and all the other bad stuff is the Zero water filter and the Clearly water filter. The Epic water filter came in just below those at 98% effective, and then below that are some of the more common household brands that you probably heard of. So the Pure Plus 7-cup filter was shown to be 79% effective. The Brita 6-cup filter was shown to be 66% effective. The Aqua Gear filter was shown to be 65% effective. The Amazon Basics 10-cup filter was shown to be 54% effective. The Brita Elite filter was shown to be 22% effective. And the Seychelles Gen 2 Dual pH 20 was shown to be 48% effective. Here's a picture style Brita filter. Now, as you can see, this is plastic, so this is not ideal by any stretch of the imagination, but this is going to be better than nothing. But if you look at the back, you can clearly see here that it says that it reduces heavy metals and chlorine, but it does not fully remove that stuff. So again, this is better than drinking straight tap water. And I think even though it's made of plastic and there's a chance of you consuming microplastics, and you know, there's estrogen promoting compounds that leach out from plastic and stuff into the water, I would say that the fact that you're actually filtering the water is going to override and supersede the fact that you're consuming water out of a plastic container, in my opinion. And then you can also see, this is the filters for that very clearly on the front. It says it reduces this stuff, but does not fully eliminate it. So again, is it better than nothing? I would say 100% yes, because if this is all you have access to or all you can afford, then it's probably going to be better than drinking straight tap water. Because when it comes to water, just like with food, our bodies are a direct reflection of the things that we consume. And our bodies just happen to be made up of 60% water. So it makes sense that the water you would want to consume should be of the highest quality that you can possibly get your hands on and is not full of all these harmful chemicals. So be sure to check the description, because I will put links to all the test reports for all the filters I mentioned in this video. And if you have a specific filter that you've used and you've seen good success with, be sure to drop a comment below and share that with the tribe. So I hope you got some value out of this. If you did, feel free to like, subscribe, join the Apex tribe, and I'll see you in the next one.